So, welcome to the Severn Visioning Session, the third of 17 community visioning sessions that are going to be held throughout the county. My name is Phil Hager, and I have the pleasure to represent the Office of Planning and Zoning for Anne Arundel County. And with us this evening, we have a number of folks that I'd like to introduce. But first of all, I want to thank you all for your interest in this topic and for coming this evening. The fact that you chose to be here this evening indicates a great deal about you, and the fact that you felt that this particular issue and having an opportunity to have your thoughts and ideas considered in our process to be important says a great deal about you, and I want to thank you for that. This evening, we have a number of folks that I'd like to recognize before we begin the audience participation part of our program this evening. You've had an opportunity to participate in several other things this evening already. But with us this evening is Councilman Allison Pickard, her legislative assistant, Kristen Eitzel, Janice Jones from the Office of Constituent Services, from our folks that make everything possible, Zach Reed and Wade Forrester. We have three members of our Citizens Advisory Committee here this evening, one of whom you're going to be hearing a lot from, who is our chair, Elizabeth Rosberg. Pat Hooker. And she had another commitment. She was here earlier. LaToya Staton. And one of the really great things that's happened in our office and to me personally over the last several months is having an opportunity to work with a new leader in our county who has chosen to place planning and land use issues at the forefront of his mission as our county executive. So much so that he has directed that we hold these 17 additional meetings, added to what was already a very ambitious public engagement process associated with the development of this plan. And he's put his money where his mouth is because he's been coming out to these sessions, he's been sticking around, he's been talking to people, and he's been making sure that he's been available for people to talk to and to help us through this process. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome with me my boss, our county executive, Mr. Stuart Pittman.
Yes, thank you for coming out. We have a lot of meetings going on these days, and I think I'm driving the planning department a little bit crazy. But when I was campaigning and going around the county, oh, you want this up here? Which one of these is? One of these is the speaker. Probably one of these is the video, but that's all right. Can you hear me now? I'll speak a little bit louder too. Is everybody says all over the county that if we're going to do a 20-year plan for our future, we sure as heck better be the ones that write it, is the citizens, is the neighbors. And so the great thing that the county did years ago was this thing called the Small Area Plan. You all know about it because it's up on the wall. And we kind of want to do that again and look back at that as a model. And obviously not everything was done. And in fact, we asked them to go through every one of these 16 documents and write the recommendations and then what was accomplished and what wasn't. And I think the thing that frustrated a lot of you and me was that a plan was done and then there weren't any updates about implementation of the plan. It was kind of put away in a drawer. And then development sort of took place the way it was going to take place. People built what they wanted to build, more or less, and not completely. We have zoning districts that and all of that, but not as much control as we would have liked, and not as much adherence to the plan. So here we are back again. Every 10 years we go through this on the general development plan, and I don't think there's anything more important that we do. Probably nothing more important during my administration that we'll do more important than this. And so it's very important that you all be here. And this is not going to be your last crack at this. we're doing a round of these meetings now, and we're calling them visioning, going over what was in the old plan and trying to come out of it to see where people feel like we should be heading, whether we were trying to head in the right direction last time, whether there's a new direction we need to be going in general. And you have a representative from this small area, and every area has a representative on that countywide Citizens Advisory Committee that's going to be doing the plan. And then it goes to the county council, and then it has to get voted on there. And so there's other opportunities to have input. But then after the general development plan that hopefully will be done by spring of next year and then approved, we'll start over again with small area planning. So it kind of never stops. In addition to that, though, there are some things that we can do outside of the general development plan to sharpen the tools that we have to influence where development goes. And one of those is looking at the laws that we have on adequate public facilities to make sure that we have the roads and the infrastructure and the schools and everything before we build. And so we want to do some work on those laws in Anne Arundel County to make sure that they're really working and we're implementing them. Forest conservation is another where we would rather have the development happen where there are not trees. We want to preserve trees. And so we're looking at the forest conservation bill in the county, making it tougher to build where there are trees so that we can direct development into places where there needs to be redevelopment and there are no trees. And also the whole process that the planning department does when a lot of the rules and the laws in the county don't quite fit with what the developer wants to build. So they ask for modifications and they go to the planning department. And it's been clear that in recent years, there were too many modifications given. They were regularly told, you can get a modification to waive the community meeting and specimen trees and wetlands and a lot of the things that are supposed to be directing where development goes. And actually, I got to credit Phil Hager. He came in before I was even elected and said, we got to crack down on where we're doing modifications. And we are working on some guidelines for that so that the developers will know what we're looking at, and we are going to be a bit tougher on the environmental modifications, so they'll be harder to get to try to get the development into where it belongs and not where it doesn't. And then a couple of things that'll help you as a citizen, I think. One is we're working on software, land management software, so that you will be able to get on your smartphone, look at a map, see a development site, click on it, and then find all of those applications, everything about the process that you now have to go down to the planning department and look at maps and see where things stand, and then hopefully it will be easier to intervene and be heard as a citizen. And another is standing for community groups. If you organize and you come together as a neighborhood and you have an organization, you want to be able to intervene as an organization in some of these processes, and that's really difficult to do the way the laws are written now. So we're looking at a lot of those things because ultimately what I want to see happen is, and I hope that you'll agree, and I hope the GDP says this, is to preserve the natural beauty of the county, preserve the open space that we got, make sure that the traffic can move. In fact, we're doing a press conference right on Ritchie Highway tomorrow announcing the release of Move Anne Arundel, which is our transportation plan, and you have 45 days to comment on that. So, and that'll be part of the GDP. But I'm hoping that the plan that we eventually come up with directs the development in a way that most people would call smart growth, so that where there's transit, we do transit-oriented development. Basically, if people want to live in a place where they can work and also live and shop, that they can find those places, and then we can preserve other parts of the county. It's up to you all to sort of look at your community and decide whether there's a place for development, whether there's not a place for development, whether there are things we want to preserve. And then ultimately, the places that have done smart growth really well, I think what they've gotten is community benefit to the development that's taking place, so that the developers who are working on their projects work with the planning department, and you end up with the park, or you end up with the public facilities that you need, as well as the schools, of course, to be able to make it a community, a place that people can identify with and live in. And I don't know if you're going to go over this, but the vision statement for this and really all of the small areas says people want that. They want to have a sense that, Severn, is Severn a community? Well, they talked in the small area plan about making it a community, but I don't think anybody believes we quite got there. And I feel like that's important, and that's the direction that we're going to go if we're going to be able to have any kind of growth in the county for our tax base, but at the same time preserve the good stuff. So hopefully we'll find a way forward. It's the toughest thing, I think, in Anne Arundel County that we got to do. Everybody knows what we don't want. We don't know what we do want yet. So good luck, and it's going to be a good meeting, I think. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Before we turn things over to our moderator, Elizabeth, I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to introduce all of the folks from the Office of Planning and Zoning who helped to make these events possible. Acting Deputy Planning, Cindy Carrier. Assistant Planning and Zoning Officer, Lori Rhodes. Our Budget Officer, Gene Tinsley. Mark Wildhonger. Teresa Ives. Darian Beverungen. Dawn Ziegler. And Ruth Davis Rogers. Thank you all very much. All right. Without further ado,
And I did not introduce Janice Jones in the back, who's Constituent Services.
So to moderate our activity this evening, our chair of our CAC, Elizabeth Rosberg, is going to lead you through that discussion. Thank you all again for coming.
Thank you all for coming. My name is Elizabeth Rosberg, and I have been asked to be the chair of the Citizen Advisory Committee for the General Development Plan. And as everyone has said, thank you. You all made an effort to come out tonight, and that means a lot. Thank you. We are so glad that you want to be part of the process. And it is a process, and we want to hear from you what you want to see your community look like. So first, let me say that for those who were not able to join us tonight, please know that there is more opportunity for them to come. There's also an opportunity to comment online. If you go online to the www.aacounty.org, and then under the Planning and Zoning Division, you'll see Plan 2040, and there's all sorts of information, including all your comments will be posted online, the video will be posted online, you can see this. You can also write us at plan2040@aacounty.org, and we will hear what you have to say and add it to the comments. You can take the survey online and everything else. So I know we have a lot of people here tonight, so I want to start off with 5 positive things about living in Severn. Why did you choose to come and live in this community?
Trees and parks.
Trees and parks. Thank you, sir. Come on, help me out here.
No urban sprawl, which is now not the case.
Okay. The comment was that to come and live in the country, not to have the urban sprawl, to come and live in the country. Okay, so we're up to 3. 2 more.
Born and raised here.
Born and raised here. There you go. Great. Well, we're so glad you stayed here. Thank you. Born and raised here. Thank you very much. One more.
For several friends who live here and they cannot be here, but they are actually excited about the proximity to the major cities and being able to get right on the highway. So there's actually a contingent who is excited about the proximity.
Have accessibility and proximity so that they have a chance. They can go to Baltimore, they can go into Annapolis, they can go into Washington, College Park, all the proximity to the different highways. And also access, I'm sure, to airports and train stations, and if you want to go other places as well. Thank you, appreciate that. So what have you seen that has changed in the last 15 years? I understand that there's probably some development, some urban sprawl. We can start off with that. What else? What have you seen change? Yes, sir.
The airport.
The airport. What about the airport? The expansion of the airport?
The airport expanded, they changed all the flight lines, the traffic getting to and from it is horrendous.
They have changed the flight lines, that is definitely true, so,
I'll put it this way, I've been here my entire life, okay? I remember when they started that thing up. I will say this, most of the time it's quieter now than it was then.
That is good.
there you go.
Take a
There you
4-engine
go.
private airliner coming out of there at full power, and they didn't go far out when they turned. They didn't have much altitude either.
Well, thank you. So having the airport, that can be a good thing, that can be a bad thing. Proximity of getting to BWI is great. You don't have to travel 2 hours to get to Dulles or to
Well, but
any
you
of
have
the
to
other
wait 3
places.
hours after you get there.
So it is nice to be able to be close, but with being close, there's a little bit added noise, you're right. So we have the airport, okay. So, one more. What have you seen change?
Casino came in here big time,
The casino has joined your area.
instead of at the
That's true.
racetrack where they had proposed originally to put them all. It
I'm
was
sorry,
originally gonna be put at the racetrack.
At which racetrack?
They were all gonna
At
be put
Laurel.
at
The casino
racetracks,
was
but
gonna
that was
be
the one that's gonna
originally
go
at
to
Laurel.
Laurel, but that's not where it went.
That's true. So we have added the casino, that's true. So, what else have you seen change?
Medical facilities.
They've got a bunch of highways, byways,
100's been added? That's true, that's a state highway. Remember, all the highways that are numbered are state. We do not have control over those numbered highways. Those are state, that's controlled by the State Highway Administration. All those numbered ones, 175, 100, everything else. So you started to say medical? They've added medical facilities?
We've got an enormous number of medical facilities.
That would be a good thing, right? Now you have access to good medical facilities.
Yeah, but
We
we
have
don't
a
have enough
wonderful
roads for 'em.
medical, we have wonderful
We have
medical.
way more traffic now on all the roads. Everything is backed up.
So she's saying that traffic is an issue as well. Medical facilities have been added, which is good. So,
Crime has been steadily increasing, especially since the casino has gone in. We've seen a lot more crime down in this area. And here recently, I think over the last, 4 weeks, there's been at least 4 murders over in the Glen Burnie area, which is just rock throwing distance from where we are.
she's saying that an increase in some of the crime in adjacent areas to the Severn community. So. And thank you, Mark, for taking all these notes. And this will be posted online afterwards also, so that you know that as well. So going forward, we can't do anything about what we have right now. We can't change where we are currently. We are looking forward for the next 10, 20 years. What would you like to see change going forward that we can look at and take back to our committee for the general development plan? Would you like to see light rail? Would you like to see HOV lanes? Would you like to see more multimodal transportation? We have a lot of that going into our transportation plan. As the County Executive Pittman alluded to, will be announced tomorrow. That is also available online for you to see. Thinking ahead, what would you like to see change? Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see the basic infrastructure improved to meet the current demands before any additional development is done.
Thank you.
Well said. Well said. And I know that has been noted repeatedly. But it is good to be reminded that we need to have the infrastructure before we add.
I think just making access to public transportation improved, like the city circular, that big giant bus. There's not enough access to people who have limited transportation finances. So many people need to have bicycle rides to wherever they can catch these places. And a lot of them don't have license to drive anyway. So they have to have employment. If they don't have employment, they don't have a way to get there, they're not gonna be able to sustain it.
Good point. And that's
It's
what
a
we're
problem.
looking at for the community-wise, is to make sure that we look at the big picture. And that we look at where we work, where we play, how we get there, how
Well, the
we
bus
stay
system
there,
isn't enough.
how we do
Yeah,
that.
Because
So-
that bus system is, got so many stops that it takes somebody a ridiculous amount of time to go from point A to point B. So the distances that they have to travel are so lengthy and so unreliable time-wise that it's not good enough for people to be able to get around. It's just not good enough.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Community centers.
Community centers, and I know that that has been addressed. There is some plans, but we definitely need that. And I know that there's some plans for boys and girls clubs and helping more with senior centers, community centers, meeting places to improve that sense of community, to have that gathering place, to share ideas and to meet together and to help each other. So, good point. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Continue to develop the hike and bike trails, like particularly between the WB&A and the BWI trail through the Severn area.
And so that you know that when we do this, the general development plan is made up of 12 other plans, and one of that is the pedestrian plan. And so that is, and we have a wonderful committee that is led by John Korn, Bike AAA, and they have looked at all that and trying to do that. And so there's a lot of public-private partnerships in making that happen. So we're on the right road, but you're right, we need to continue that. I know that there's a lot of expansions and different things that are going on, not only in the Severn area, but throughout the entire county. Yes, sir.
Park and ride.
Park and ride. And that goes back to the buses and
Give
having
them someplace
more
to park,
accessibility
get
for
some
park
off
and
of all
ride.
the feeder routes in the area.
So, good point.
And if nothing else, talk to the airport in the state of Maryland and see if part of their property could be devoted to it.
So, thank you. Park and ride. What else? What else would you like to see happen? This is your chance. Tell us what you're thinking.
Bring the peach orchard back.
I didn't hear it, sorry.
Bring the peach orchard back.
Oh, bring the peach orchard back, okay.
Bring the farms back, right?
Bring the farms back.
Peaches anyway.
Maybe just the peaches, right? So, the farmers. Well, good. Yes, sir.
It's one of the things that's over here anyway, but 170 where it goes from 100 to through 174 and south is just backed up for quite a ways, particularly in the evening. So
And how would you suggest that?
I
Be
think Marty had
improved
just
or-
proposed continuing to make it 4 lanes.
Widening,
Right.
widening? So,
No, we just
We
need
can
more
also
roads.
think
We
of-
need more roads to parallel 170. It can't be just 170. That's the problem. 170 is.
she's saying
one.
more roads to parallel 170, not just
Yeah.
170.
There's
What
too
about
many
thinking
neighborhoods that
outside of the
you've got-
box? What about thinking about other ways instead of just widening and putting more asphalt down, like you talked about?
About more public
About the more
transportation.
public transportation and everything else. Let's think about other ways. We're not even gonna have cars here, probably in 20 years. Think about that, all the electric cars and everything else. We need to start thinking, we're talking, plan is 2040. We're way in the future. Start thinking way in the future. Come on, I can get some of these crazy ideas, but she doesn't have one.
I was gonna say sidewalks, if we're talking about transportation, even access to get to transportation, proper sidewalks on Reese Road, on 175, anywhere that you need to get to the transportation. If I don't have a sidewalk, I can't get there.
Good point.
So,
Yeah, and that is the access, and that is building the infrastructure that we talked about beforehand. Having the sidewalks, having a place to park, having a place to catch a bus. So, what else? Come on, y'all, help me here. What else? Thinking of anything else? Outside the box? Futuristic?
What do we have for public transportation so far?
We're talking about the improving the park and ride, improving the access to public transportation in general, improving the sidewalks, making sure it's safe to use, making sure that, I think you're gonna go a little bit further down, Mark. Yeah. Making sure that we have the infrastructure to meet the demands and that we're thinking going forward. Yes, sir?
Park and ride cures getting people to public transportation. What you need to cure is the other end. The public transportation is going somewhere. How are they gonna get from that terminus to where they need to be? If they can't do that, they're not gonna use it.
That's a good point. Depending on where they're going and what they're doing, and hopefully, you know, like we talked about, and ride your bike, put your bike on the front of the bus, take the bus to work, and then you have the, yeah, well,
Used to see them up in the city all the time,
That's
two
it.
bikes on the front.
you can still do that. You can still do that, so. Okay, last chance. Anything else that you all would like us to know? We are your representatives going forward. Now is your time to speak up and let us know what you're thinking. And this isn't the only opportunity, but I'm just opening it up to you now so that you have a chance to let us know.
Increase the green space in the parks as opposed to paving over everything and doing so much housing development. Let's take it back to a more, not necessarily rural, but at least keep it to where it fits in with the sidewalks and the community centers, and that there's a way for people to enjoy the outdoors that we're going to hopefully provide access to.
Have the neighborhood parks and different things for people to have the community feeling that everybody wants.
This guy keeps saying stuff, but he says it real quiet.
Put you on the spot? Yeah. Okay. Well, you can write us if you don't want to do that. So, last chance. Well, thank you all again for coming. I really do appreciate you making the effort because this is your plan. And we want to make sure that we represent you to the best of our ability. So thank you for coming out. And please pass this on to your neighbors, to your friends, to your different organizations and everything else. There will be plenty more opportunity for you to comment. You can comment online. If you write that plan 2040 at aacounty.org, I guarantee you that it will be read. And so we encourage you to do that. I'll be around for a few minutes. If you want to come talk to me, don't want to have the microphone, please do so. I'll be more than happy to listen.